Slimehouse TV, myself Theo Kane, welcome back to the channel and to a very special episode of Toy Talk Tuesday. This week I've got another guest on the show. I've got Toy Polloi, the one and only Toy Polloi. So if you've been following the YouTube toy community in the UK for a while, chances are you have heard of Toy Polloi. But on the off chance that you haven't heard of him, this is a dude that has been doing YouTube for many years, reviewing toys and stuff like that. But above all else, he's a guy that is like an aficionado when it comes to repairing broken toys, remaking parts for them that are missing and that kind of thing. So he's a guy that very much like myself collects toys because he loves the actual toy. He's not a guy who's obsessed with the monetary value and things like that. He's a proper toy hunter and he's a proper toy repairer and restorer. So I can't wait to get into some conversation with him today. He's also got some opinions that are very close to mine that we found out via talking after Toy Talk Tuesday episodes and things like that. So I can't wait to get into some conversation with him. So without further ado, let's do it. Let's talk to Dave from Toy Polloi. Dave from Toy Polloi, how we doing?
Not too bad, Theo. Nice to be on the show.
Nice to properly meet as well. I know we've talked a little bit in the comments after like Toy Talk Tuesdays and stuff like that. It feels like we've got some opinions that are very similar when it comes to this toy thing, especially like online communities and all that kind of thing. And I can't wait to get into that. Obviously, first of all, it's May the 4th, so happy May the 4th, brother. I know you're a big Star Wars guy, so it's cool to have you on May the 4th.
Yeah, Star Wars is one of those things. Everybody likes Star Wars, and everyone likes to see old Star Wars toys played with. So certainly, I know when I do a Star Wars video, I know they're going to be particularly big. So yeah, nice to be on Star Wars Day.
I think it was your second ever upload, was it not? Was a Star Wars video. I don't know if you've like gone back and deleted any old uploads or anything like that. Your videos seem very like polished from the start, and also like you know exactly what you were doing from like the early days of doing it. But I know your second one was a Star Wars video.
Do you know? I would have to go and check. I did because I passed sort of 8 years on YouTube recently. I did a video sort of with all my stats on it, and I've done something like 840 videos. And trying to remember what I've done in all those years, I often have to go back and sort of rewatch some of my old ones to make sure I'm not sort of duplicating. So it could well have been a Star Wars video. I know the very first video I did was Fisher Price Adventure People. So
that's right.
You know, I started on a high.
Feels like you're someone that's been on this YouTube thing for a long time, but not only that, you're someone that like knew what they wanted to do from the start. I've been on YouTube for a long time, but I only feel like it's in the past year or so where I've really like started to home in on what I want my videos to be like and how regular to upload them and everything like that. You just seem like you had that like set in stone from the start. Is that like how you got your channel to grow so much? Because I think it's safe to say now, like you're one of, if not like the most well-known retro toy guy on YouTube in England. But it's been like a slow burner for you, hasn't it? It's not like you just had your channel a couple of years and it's just blew up. You've like really grafted on this for like you said, a good 8 years.
Yeah, right from the start, I knew what I wanted to do because my whole sort of collecting ethos is buying broken toys and fixing them up. So I knew that is what my channel needed to be, sort of showing what I did and how I fixed toys. And I sort of naively at the start, I thought I'd just do this and a few people will watch and I'll have a little audience. And I just kept on doing it. I never expected to get to the sort of the 50,000 subscriber mark. I just do it because I enjoy it, and it's my hobby, and I want to show people sort of what I do. But certainly, it's a lot bigger than I imagined it would ever get to now. There's far more people watching than I sort of ever expected to be interested in essentially a middle-aged man sitting in his room fixing old toys.
Well, it's one of those, like, when I started doing this, like, the Toy Talk thing especially, it was Jeremy, our mutual friend, Tokyo Toy Bastard, shouts to Jeremy out in Tokyo, who, like, suggested doing, like, a channel chat kind of thing for an episode. And then off the back of that, I thought, who else can I get? And, like, you instantly come to my mind. But so it's like, if I could have had anyone on this channel, like you're definitely up there with the people that I would love to like have done this channel chat with. So first of all, I just want to say thank you for like taking the time to do this today, because I know, like I said, you're a busy guy. You've got your own stuff going on. It means a lot that you're here today, and it seems like we've got some opinions that are very similar on this, like on the whole toy community thing. So I just wanted to say thank you first of all for even taking the time to do it. When I saw that you were watching my channel and stuff, that meant a lot to me.
Oh, my pleasure. It's nice to be invited on these things. I don't do a huge amount of these sort of in-person chats, and really, when I started Toy Polloi, it was not about me. I never really wanted to be the face of what I do, which is why in 95% of my videos you never see me. It's all about my hands and the toys that I'm fixing. I'm not the I never wanted to be the focal point of this, but sometimes I do appear. As you can see now, I am here, and it's nice to chat with other sort of YouTubers and see what's going on in the rest of the world. I think sometimes YouTubers can get a bit full of themselves and full of their own importance, and actually in the grand scheme of things, we're all just the same people. We're all just normal people doing things we enjoy, and I think that's why it's nice to chat to other channels at all levels of their of their sort of growth. Really, that's why I will chat to anybody about toys, really.
Well, one thing I like about you and your whole vibe that you give off and what you do, you're very real. A lot of people are like getting to the toy thing either because they think it's cool, whereas I can tell you're a guy that was on this way before anyone thought it were cool, and also you're a guy that's not got into it because you think, oh, I'm going to get into this because it's worth a lot of money, or I want to collect things that are worth a lot of money because it makes me look cool. Like you're a dude finding toys at a car boot that are broken and fixing them back together, which is very much like my own view on this stuff. I collect it because I love it. I don't care if it's got a repro weapon. I don't care if it's a weapon that someone's made that looks the same. I recently did a Robin Hood video where the whole video I featured from the Ken of Robin Hood line of one that had a repaired string, and I spoke about in that video that like I used the one with a repaired string on purpose because that has a whole story in itself. Like these are toys that would have got pellet gunned in a garden because they were like toys that not really many people cared about. So the one kid that did took the time to get his parents to repair him the bow, and that story to me is just as important as the story of how they were made or anything like that. I always like to dig a little bit deeper into not the psychology behind toys, but like what makes them so cool. And yeah, like why would a kid repair that bow? It means it must have meant a lot to him, so it's kind of like my duty to look after that toy now that it's in my collection and not take that off and put a new string on it.
No, it's never been about money for me. My whole collection has always been about buying the cheapest stuff. I've never wanted to spend a huge amount of money on it. Mainly, I think, because when I started collecting, I was, early 20s. I didn't have an amazing job, so I didn't have a huge amount of sort of disposable income. So I would just go to car boots. I'd buy something. If I got it for £1 and it was broken, didn't matter because I could still enjoy it for that much. And with a little bit of time and effort, I could fix it up. And that's, my collection now, which is sort of nearly 30 years later, is still that. I don't want to spend money on stuff. I'm sort of quite a tight collector. It's not about the value, monetary value. For me, the value is in the enjoyment I get out of it, and the enjoyment, like you're saying, the enjoyment that someone else has had out of it in a previous life. These toys all have their stories, and they all have damage and bits missing, but that is their story. And I feel what I'm doing here, fixing up an old toy, is just adding a new story to it. And it doesn't have, you don't have to fix something, and it doesn't need to be perfect. It can still be a bit rough around the edges. You've just added your own story to it. And some people say that I'm devaluing toys by doing that, but if I've spent £1 on a toy, I'll go somewhere and buy a toy for £1, and then I spend 8 hours of my time really enjoying fixing it up, how can I have devalued that thing? It was only £1 to start with. If anything, I've put my value on it because I put my love and care and story onto it. And that thing to me is now worth, it's not worth money, but it's worth that sort of memory and that feeling of fixing up. It makes it worth more. So you can't devalue something that is worth £1 to start with.
Is that something you've been accused of before, like devaluing toys?
Constantly. If you go on any of the Star Wars Facebook groups, especially, I don't know what it is about Star Wars people, but Star Wars Facebook's group, basically every time I do something, I have in some way either ruined a toy, devalued a toy, or at some point in future my toy will be sold on and someone will be conned because they will think it will be an original toy, but it's not. It's been ruined by me. So yeah, I'm constantly told I am devaluing toys and ruining the hobby. So take that as you will.
Yeah, with all the joy that you've brought to people over the years watching your channel, you're the guy that's devaluing and ruining the hobby. I've not done much, not that I'm not into Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I just haven't done much Star Wars content myself, but I've done Warhammer content, and the Warhammer community are very much like that. And I've had it when I've like made something and I've posted it on a group, and someone had said, this video shouldn't be here because it's not relevant to this group. The admins will remove it. So I'm a bit like, well, if the admins want to remove it, then the admins can remove it. You don't need to be like a stormtrooper policeman, like policing. This is nothing to do with you. If you don't, it's the only community that's like it. It's you get it a little bit in the toy community, but there's like a certain like venomous like aura that comes with just Warhammer people, and I think in the toy community, the Star Wars are the equivalent of that.
Yeah, it almost comes down to sort of playground bullying levels of uh, I don't know. They're as far as I'm concerned, I've bought this toy. It's my toy. I can do what I want with it. Why should I listen to what someone else is telling me to do to my own
Yeah.
collection? But the Star Wars people just seem to have this sort of made up rule book of what you can and can't do with it. And they're very vocal about it and very angry. Um, I think if you're getting angry about toys, you shouldn't be collecting toys. Go and do something else. If someone else's toy collection is making you cross, or if someone else, whatever they're doing to their toys, is making you cross and angry, then this is not the hobby for you. Step back and go and do something that you do enjoy, that you can calm down a bit about.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing that I think that we have to remind ourselves a lot. That I mean, well, not me personally, because I'm well aware of it and I always quote it, but people need to realize that they are just toys. These are effectively like packaging. They're like because a toy. What I always say is a kid gets bought a toy. And they're supposed to enjoy it for a few years until they go out of it, and then it essentially goes to a charity shop or goes in a bin or something like that. Toys are
Mm.
made very disposable. The fact that they've lasted this long in many ways is like amazing. So if you're getting one and painting it up and putting it on your own shelf, that's your own toy. It's mad that people would have a problem with that, but it just seems like they have. And when I started this toy talk thing, it was a point where like it just come to me in a sense that there's all these kind of conversations that I was trying to like usher into toy videos. I'd like review a toy and then try and like make a point and usher it in, and sometimes felt fake and forced. So I thought if we just do like a toy talk episode where we can talk about these kind of things, that's just a whole solo video. And I've found out that like my opinions on this stuff, there's so many other people who see it that way as well. And for what seems like can be such a toxic community, it seems like they're just the ones that are so vocal about it that they can almost kind of take over the vibe of the scene, but it doesn't need to be like that. So I'm glad that there's people like yourself who are keeping that side of toy collecting alive, because I didn't realize there were so many other people that saw it that way until I started doing these toy talk videos.
Yeah, it's something you don't really imagine is going to be there, because as far as I'm concerned, toys are toys. They're all meant to be fun. They're all meant to be enjoyed. And when someone just gets so cross about something, you just think like, God, these are toys. They're supposed to be played with. As far as I'm concerned now, I am a middle-aged man who is just still playing with toys. I just never grew up. I may be playing with them slightly differently as to how I did as a child, but I'm still playing with toys. I'm still getting enjoyment out of them. And if if you can't see that, and you can't see the enjoyment that I get and other people get, then yeah, it isn't the hobby for you. I know certainly with Star Wars stuff, if I do a video about making a cape for Darth Vader or something like that, that will make them cross, because it's then showing other people how to
Right,
make something
right.
to fix up their toy, and they would rather the toy wasn't fixed and stayed broken than someone fixed it. I don't get that attitude at all. I don't see it. And you get a little bit of it in the Masters of the Universe. Occasionally Motu collectors will get a bit cross, and occasionally Action Man stuff. But on the whole, that collecting community just seems to appreciate that you're having fun with toys. And so I tend to steer clear quite a lot of Star Wars. I'm not welcome on many Star Wars forums, so I don't actively join in on them. And I know my name is bandied around in quite unkind terms on those ones, but I'll leave them to it. If that's how they want to deal with it, that's fine. I'd rather make this a community, a sort of a very inclusive community, and have everybody enjoying and just enjoying their toys and having fun with them again.
And that's what I love about your whole vibe and your channel. It's funny as well that you said like you've been accused of like showing someone how to make a Darth Vader cape means that other people can go out and fake Darth Vader capes. And I get accused of that a lot when I film a toy good. Because I say I come from a filmmaking background before I come as a toy reviewer. So I'll make sure everything I film looks boss man. And I get accused often of like, oh, you're now making prices skyrocket. Why? Because I made a toy look cool. Like I'm personally responsible for like the prices going up on eBay. That's just an inevitable part of YouTube, and if you was gonna never repair anything on your channel ever again, then what? Okay, I'm just gonna review toys, and then you get accused of don't review toys because then you're making the prices go up. So okay, I should just delete my channel then. I just
Yeah.
don't do anything. That's what
No,
I get. That's what vibe I get.
I've certainly been accused of making toys, especially broken toys, more sought after. But to me, I don't see that as a bad thing. I would rather the broken toys were more sought after, because then they're not broken and people are enjoying them. They're not being thrown away. So I've definitely been accused of that. And there are some toys that I've featured that I know are now harder to get, and I'm sure that is my fault. I like right when I started this, as I said, I think the first few videos I did were about Fisher Price Adventure People, and at that time you could buy those so cheaply. I had boxes of them, and I've got loads of carded Adventure People, and of which I paid no more than a sort of £1, or even carded ones you could get for like £3 or £4. Now they are really sought after. Everybody's collecting them, and I'm not sure if that's my fault, but I certainly, no one was featuring them all that time ago. I started featuring them. I've always had a massive love for them. Is that my fault? I don't know, but I sort of feel it. Possibly I started something with that, but doesn't matter. There's still millions of these things out there. You can still find them. You just keep hunting like everybody else. Keep hunting, you'll find
Well,
it.
it's something that you mentioned in a video that I really like, and it's something that I always say as well. Because I don't know how long you have been a toy collector. I'll ask you in a second. But like, I've been on this like my whole life because my dad was a toy dealer. So there's been like times in my teens where I weren't asked about retro toys anymore. I was more into Spawn figures and McFarlane movie maniacs and things. I weren't bothered about like cartooning Ninja Turtles and stuff. And then I got my love back for them. But I've been on this for so long that I know that any toy that you want, eventually you will find it if you hunt out for it for long enough. Eventually this stuff will come to you and you'll get it for a nice price. And I grew up on car boots and market stalls and things, very much like you said you got all your toys from and things like that as a kid. Like I got new toys at Christmas and at birthday, or if I was a good boy when I went to town with my mum when she did shopping, she'd get me something off like the discount rack store in like the Home Bargains equivalent or whatever that was at the time. And that's when I got to learn the love of like a lot of like the bootleg figures and things. But I like your whole view on it, because it's same as mine in that you get people get into toy collecting and then they just spend loads of money and they want to buy everything, and this makes the prices skyrocket. It makes everyone think that's like the price that something should be. But when you've been on it a long time like you and I have, you know that there's no need to be spending £200 on a carded figure that 6 years ago was a £20 toy, because now it's like popular again. Just ride the storm a bit, and this stuff will come to you eventually. Not everything will, because as toy collectors, there's thousands of things that we want, and we'll die never having a lot of it. But the stuff that you really want, that's on your hit list, you do have to be patient. And I know that you said that on a video before.
Yeah, certainly. I've been collecting now. I sold all my toys off when I was about 15 or 16, so I got into computers and remote control cars. And it was then when I first got a job, so I was sort of 19, 20, I suddenly thought, actually, I want all of this stuff back. So I started buying then. So, I'm 48 now, so I've been doing this sort of 28 years. I've been collecting. I'm a long-term toy collector. So, and yeah, my Star Wars collection, I started my proper Star Wars collection then. So but I was 19 or 20, and I only got the last figure I needed, which was Yak Face, about, I'm going to say 10 years ago. So it took me 18 years to get a complete run of Star Wars figures. And that was because I never wanted to spend more than £10 on any figure. And I never did. I've never spent more than £10 on any Star Wars figure, even the rare ones, like, all of the last 17. With time, you can find them. I found a Yak Face for £1.50. I found a pop-up lightsaber R2D2 for £3. These are, they are out there. And it's not like they're, millions of them were made. So you just have to be patient. There's no rush to do any of this stuff. All the sort of new collectors that certainly over the last couple of years with lockdown and COVID and that, there's a lot of new collectors who are pushing the prices up on the markets. And I also think that people getting toys graded is all about money and pushing the value of toys up and trying to make it about the price of them. But just take the long goal. I did a video last week which was showing my Skeletor collection, which is, I just love Skeletor from Masters of the Universe, so I've been collecting him. But right from the start, I said, I'm never going to spend more than £3 on a Skeletor. I want lots of them, but I'm not going to spend more than £3 on a Skeletor. And so I At the start, I was finding quite a lot of them. Now, not so many, but they still crop up, and I still buy them for £3. You just have to play the long game. And I'm not, I'm not, stealing other people's figures from them. There are still millions of them out there. Just be patient. You will find them. They come. You'll be at a car boot sale. There'll be a Skeletor there, and the person will go, "Oh, I just want £1 for that." Fine, that's one for my collection. But if that person goes, "It's a £5," I'll be like, "No, that's fine. I'm not spending that. Someone else can have it," and someone else will go along and buy a Skeletor for a £5, and they'll be very happy with it. It's treat collecting as you've got to be patient. It's a long-term project. Be very patient, and you will find the stuff in time. And if you don't find it, you've still got the enjoyment of the hunt. It will come along in the end. That's, for me, once I finish my Star Wars collection of figures, what do? I've got them all. I then just have to find something else to fill that need if I've got to find something. So, don't wish it over too soon.
Yeah, and you know what? Like you were saying, like when you first start rediscovering this stuff again, that's such a beautiful time. Like when you get back into this stuff and you start like remembering all the things that you've just blocked out your brain, and you're like, oh man, I remember that figure. And then now we've got the internet, you can research. There was a whole line of them, and you feel like, oh man, I would have loved those as a kid. I only had one, I didn't know what it was from, and I see all the other ones, and they're even cooler than that one. And we're probably at a time now where we've looked at this stuff a million times. It's very rare you see something these days that you've not seen before. It does happen, but it's very rare. But that time when you're like rekindling that relationship with the 80s stuff, it is such a wicked time. I never really had like nostalgic attachment to stuff because my dad was a toy dealer. So even when I was not into it, there was always boxes and boxes of this stuff coming back into the house. And my dad was very much like that. He never liked to pay a lot of money for this stuff. He'd always get it cheap from car boots, or he'd go to discount stores and buy it all. I remember there was one time he got like 15 drillers from Thundercats on the card from like a home bargain store because they were like £3 a pop. And I remember him saying to me at the time, "Do you want one?" And I was just a bit old for him. I was like, "I'm not bothered. It's a bit of a weird figure with a drill leg. I'm not bothered. It won't look good on my shelf or nothing." So I wasn't bothered. So I've always again been at that mind state of like, don't be paying a lot of money for this stuff. There's always going to be the odd time where I pay not through the nose, but I pay a bit of money for something that I really want. But it's usually to complete a collection. There's like one weapon that I need, or one figure, or like yourself, I'll go Japan toy hunting, which we can talk about as well. And I'll have saved up money specifically to spend there. But I think part of the fun is getting this stuff cheap and acquiring this stuff naturally, and not just going on eBay and clicking away and buying it all. Like you said, it's over too soon. Don't let it be over too soon, because that's the best part, is the hunt.
Yes, certainly. Like when I first started collecting, there was none of this eBay lark. There was no real internet. So to toy collect, you would have to hunt down. There'd be these odd little shops, located somewhere. I used to go to a shop in Acton that I just happened to walk past one day, and then that was like my go-to shop. It was just this weird guy who would have boxes and boxes of toys. We go there and we can just sort of rummage through them, and you'd be like, oh, find little gems. There's none of this, instantly finding stuff on the internet. Now, if I want a particular figure, I can go on eBay and buy every figure I need instantly. And that's, it's great, but the hunt used to be much better because you sort of search around. And certainly now I still make mistakes. I still buy things and then regret them because I've sort of not overpaid, but I paid more than I wanted. And if I'd just been patient, give it a little while, I would have actually found the thing that I wanted. I bought a Micronauts Star Searcher, which was a toy. I remember my brother having this as a kid, and it sort of suddenly came into my mind. It's like, I really want one of those. And I spent a little while searching around, and I finally found a guy in France who had a really nice boxed one, and I bought it off him. I think I paid £110 for this boxed Star Searcher, and it arrived. And 2 days later, I got another one boxed for £20 off eBay. It's like, so I just should have waited. I found, and then I got another one a little bit later on, another boxed one, which I paid £15 for. It's like, I should have waited. So the first one, it's great, and I'm glad I had it and bought it. But if I'd stuck to my guns, I would have found one anyway. But I had that urgency that I suddenly needed it. I had the same problem with. I wanted to do a video showing how to reattach the arms to the large 14-inch Darth Vader figure from Kenner. And so I messaged someone who I know knows a toy trader, and he had one. I think he sold it to me I think he sold it to me like 23 quid for this sort of Darth Vader with his arms loose and that. And I filmed the video. And the very next day, I went to this shop that I know in Western Supermare and picked up another one for 3 quid. It's like, I just should have, I should have waited. I shouldn't have. I was desperate to film this video, but if I just left it, I'd have got one for 3 quid. So I ended up with two. But the first one, it sort of niggles me that I spent too much money on it, which I didn't, because still 23 quid for Darth Vader's good. But I just should have waited.
But then there's also that thing of when you don't pick it up and you never. I saw something recently on like a collecting program, and it says you only ever think about the toy that you didn't buy or the thing that you didn't pick up. So there's always that urgency as well when there's something that you've been after for years. I had a very similar thing with a toy called the Purple People Eater, which is an old like late 70s game. But as a kid, I found this weird jelly monster in the garden of some flat that we were living in, and I never knew what it was. And then years later, like I'd seen a little grainy image of one online and thought, oh, I need to get that. Found out it was from a game. And it took me 15 years of looking, 10, 15 years of finding one. And I finally got one, and it had a part of it missing, but I'm like, I'm not bothered. I just need to get one. And I got it and probably paid, like, not overpaid for it, but I paid a decent whack. And literally a week later, my friend messaged me and he goes, oh, there's a link on eBay, buy it now, £10 with everything. So I ended up with two. But then at the same time, I was a bit like, well, then I kind of paid I'll just half what I paid for both of them, and then they both were two bargains. And if I want to sell one, then I can sell one, and I've got it there. And because I would have only regretted it if I didn't. I've got some regrets in the toy world where I didn't buy stuff and I didn't jump on it when I should have. And like you said, nowadays all these new people that jump on it, they've boosted the prices up. I always talk about this, but I let like a whole set of Dino Riders go for 120 quid, like 15 boxed items. This was like 7 years ago. I was just a bit skint at the time, and I thought I could do without buying all them Dino Riders. They're not hard to get. And then now they go for like stupid amounts each one in the box. Like I've got a friend, Dino Riders UK, who just collects them, and some of the money that they go for now is crazy. So like that's one I regret. So I kind of now try to live without regrets when it comes to something and buy it if it's a decent price. So it's always that toss up, isn't it, that you might never see it again, or you might find three in a week.
I think we all have toy regrets. There are many things in my life that I look back on and think I just should have bought that, or I shouldn't have got rid of it. I still do it. Like occasionally we go to sort of flea markets nearby, and I'll be eyeing something up, and I'll just say, no, I'll leave it. And Mrs. Toy Polloi will be, saying, no, just get it, because you'll regret it later. She's actually quite a good sort of, I'm going to say good influence now, because she does push me to get it. But I've just, I've walked away and then gone back later on, and I either can't find the stall that was selling it, which is like really annoying. It's like I knew it was here somewhere, or you go back and it's sold, and you just, I just wish I bought that thing. And I've sold stuff as well in the past. My collection, is fairly large, and we've moved a couple of times. And I think one time before we were moving, I sold stuff that I didn't really, I don't know, it was in two minds. I didn't really have a connection to it, but actually there were some things that I got rid of. Like I had most of the Tron figures with the light cycles, the Tomy Tron from the Disney movie.
Love them.
And I sold them, and it's like, oh God, that's just so annoying. So I'm still trying to get those back, but now prices on those are astronomical. So I've got one figure and one very beaten up light cycle that I've found for 50p. I regret that sort of stuff, but you can't regret everything. And let's face it, we've all got too much, really. I come into my room and sometimes don't know where to look. There's so much here. It's like, oh God, where to start? But I love it all, and it's very hard to. If someone said you had to get rid of all of it now, I'd be quite hard pushed to get rid of most of it. I've got connections to so many of these things, and there would be a regret getting rid of any of this.
There's the regret of when you've got a YouTube channel, if you're reviewing, I don't know, you're reviewing a Star Wars figure, and then you're like, oh, this has got very similar joints to this figure. You want to be able to pull that figure out, put them side by side and show them, and you kind of feel like you need an archive of this stuff. I don't like these YouTube channels where they talk about toy history and they talk about stuff, but they don't show any of the figures. They literally like just sit on Wikipedia and take pictures of Google and just do that kind of thing. A lot of people like it. I personally don't. I think if you're talking about this toy, you want to show it at least 90% of the time, try and show the thing. So when I've done like big toy hunting trips to America and Japan, back before I was doing YouTube in this way and this form and doing toy talks and stuff, I had whole sets of figures that I were like, I like them, I enjoy them, but I'll sell them because I want money for Japan. Like I had everything from Action Force, and I just kept a couple of bit. Oh, sorry, I didn't have the skull ship. I didn't have the cyber skull ship, but I had everything else, and I just kept Skeletron, and I kept Kraken, and I sold all the others. Whereas now I feel like, oh, I wish I'd have not sold them because I like those toys. And I've still got, I mean, looking around now, I've still got more than that. I've got some carded ones and things, but I wish I kind of had them all because I could do a wicked video essay on the whole line and film them all cinematic and perfect. But at the time, I weren't filming videos like that. So I had every Biker Mice from Mars figure. I had every Street Shark, every Hasbro wrestler that I'd just picked up at car boots in lots and put sets together. And then now I kind of feel like I wish I'd have not sold them because even though they're not something that I particularly love that much, that I regret selling them because I wouldn't have sold them in the first place. But it would be nice to have an archive of this stuff for when I'm doing videos, so I can always pull them out and film them. And that's the regret that I have. Even though the toys that I could buy back, if I wanted to tonight, if I was rich enough and I wanted to, I could pretty much get every Hasbro wrestler ever just by going on eBay, like you said, clicking away. It wouldn't skimp me. I couldn't even afford to do it. But in theory, if I had a couple of grand sat there, I could buy all this stuff. Whereas I feel like when you go to Japan, you're going to see stuff that you couldn't get even if you wanted to go online and find it. So there's always that toss up with me as well. But I know you've done a lot of toy hunting in Japan as well. Like, what's your experience like Tokyo toy hunting? Because that, to me, that's like the mecca of retro toys. There's nothing finer than being out in Akihabara and Shibuya with a load of money on your way to Mandarake.
I absolutely love going to Japan. I think we've been, I'm going to say 15 or more times now.
No way! Oh, you've outdone me.
Oh, we go every year if we can. This pandemic has been really annoying. I actually have stuff piled up here ready to take gifts for people, and I do trades with people when I go out. So yeah, we've been more than 15 times, and every time I find something new that I've never seen before. I go with a little list of what I want, things that I know that I want, and I still come back with more stuff that I'd never even heard of. And you're always introduced to something new. There is no place quite like Tokyo, and I think for me, Nakano Broadway is the best place. I love that place. Just walking down the aisles of shops crammed with toys, and I just it's an absolute joy, that place. It's the sort of place I'd like to go and die there, just because it's like heaven. All of these little shops filled and with trinkets, and I spend a fortune. Normally we go, I go with a suitcase filled with toys to give to people or trade with people, and then come back with the same suitcase just filled with Japanese toys to add to my collection. It's an amazing place, and I've never not gone and come back with more. It's always, but again, there's toy regrets there. Sometimes you go and I see things and I don't have enough money, or I just think, no, I don't need that, and then that's it. You get home, it's like, oh God, I wish I bought that weird little cyborgy thing, or that weird little robot, or I'm as soon as the lockdown stuff, or as soon as Japan.
Well, there's that urgency when you're there to buy everything.
Yeah, completely.
Sorry, continue. There was another lag.
Yeah, no, there is. That's the thing. There's so much stuff. It's like, how much money have I got? How much space have I got? Can I get this all home? I need to get this all home. And it's, I've made great friends out there. Jeremy, Tokyo Toy Bastard, and we've been sort of meeting up with him now. Can't think how long I've known him, but I've known him quite, a good few years. We meet up with him every time, and Ishii, who had the shop, Toy Cat Showcase, which is sadly shut. I'm hoping he does open a new one. We get on really well with him and his family, and every time Ishii has got, like, his toy collection was amazing. I bought so many things from him and traded with him, like weird stuff, because there's some toys that you can't get in Japan that are easy to get here, so I always take things over. And it's I would go tomorrow if I could. As soon as Japan is open again for Western travelers, we're going to be booking flights, and we'll be over there for a good few weeks to have a holiday and mainly toy shop.
Well, it's funny you said, because this is a place I'd like to go die. I said the exact same thing on Tokyo Toy Bastard's latest video. He put a video up at a toy fair in Japan, and I'd never even seen a Japanese toy fair before, and I put, I want to die in a place like this. That's my exact words, because it is like heaven. If you're a toy collector, people don't realize, like, it looks good from the outside looking at our videos. Until you're there, you can't even gauge. What I always thought about Japan as well is because I'd grown up for years as a kid, as a young teen and stuff, like watching everything I could to do with everything from Tokusatsu, Ultraman, Takashi Miike movies, Shinsuke Sakamoto, and I was obsessed with Japanese culture. So when I got there, it was not only 1,000 times better than I'd have ever dreamed it to be, which is rare. Sometimes things aren't as good in real life. It was 1,000 times better than I thought it were going to be. And then it was also like existing in a Japanese movie as an extra, because it just played out exactly how I'd imagined it in my head. Just sat on the tube, going around the train, going around, walking down alleyways, finding little shops. You just feel like you're an extra in a movie. And also because I speak a bit of Japanese. You'll probably speak more than me if you've been 15 times, but I don't understand conversation when I'm there. So it's very, very tranquil in the sense that everyone around me is having a conversation in a different language that I don't understand. So there's no like other voices or words being put in your head. You're kind of like completely at peace when you're there. It might sound really deep and ridiculous, but that's also one of the things that when I'm there really like puts my mind at zen. I've got ADHD, so like it's so hard to, like, if you're in a crowded place, I'll hear every single conversation around me and things. But when you're in Japan, I don't get that. It's I'm just there in this zen mode where my brain's at peace and all I have to worry about is eating something dope and what toy shop am I going to go to next.
Yeah, I don't speak any Japanese. I can say hello, goodbye, and polite things like that. I just assume that I don't look Japanese. I'm quite tall. I tower above everybody else, so I just assume everyone will understand that I am not Japanese. So I speak nothing. But like you, I love the fact I can't understand a word anybody says, and I can't read anything. It's a real, although it's a very busy city. When you go to Tokyo, it's incredibly busy. I don't feel like hemmed in at all because you can't understand anything and everyone's polite. Like the first time we met up with Jeremy, I'd only ever chatted to him on Facebook and that we were chatting and we'd arranged to meet, and so I'd arranged to meet him at Toy Cat's showcase, which is like the basement of this building in a place called Kids Joji, down a little sort of alleyway. And I said to Mrs. Toy Polloi, so I've arranged to meet this guy in the basement of this place. And she's like, isn't that a bit dangerous? You're going somewhere to meet someone you've never met in the basement of a building down a little sort of dark alleys like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's Japan. Nothing's going to happen. If you're doing that in the UK, if you said to someone, I'm going up to London to meet a guy I've never met in the basement of this building, which is in the sort of the arse end of somewhere, that you'd think, oh blimey, that's really dangerous. In Japan, it's like, no, it's going to be fine because it's Japan, and it was perfect. There was no problem at all. It's just the right sort of environment. They do things right. Everybody's nice. Everybody's generally very polite and courteous, and it's such a clean place. And they also understand toy collectors or just people generally with hobbies. Here, if you're a middle-aged man and you say your hobby is toy collecting, most people will go, that's weird. Why aren't you watching football and drinking beer and stuff like that? That's a really weird thing to do. But if you're in Japan and you say to someone, my hobby is I'm a toy collector, they'll be like, oh, that's really interesting. They can see the merit in it and appreciate what you're doing and what the enjoyment you get out of it. And I think it's just that cultural difference that makes it an amazing place to go, an amazing place for toy collectors in general.
Well, it's funny you said it's like such a busy city, but it never feels busy because people are so polite how they walk. No one walks in your way. It's not like London where it's like busy and hectic, and like you get back to your hotel, whatever, in London, or like I'll get back on the train to Sheffield, and you're just like, just like have a breather from the chaos. I never feel like that in Japan, even though it's the most popular city I've been to, and I've been all over the world at major cities. It's the most populated one, but people like walk on the left and the right side of the road. It's so clean. I always say it looks like something that's built out of Playmobil because everything's so clean and nice. You wake up in the morning and there's a broom next to the bus stop. So while you're waiting for your bus, you can just have a little sweep if you want. And it's just so embedded in their culture to treat the street like it's your like it's your living room. So that I always feel these are all the reasons why the toys. If it could be the dirtiest, most horrible, violent city in the world, and I'd still go for the toys. But the fact that all this other stuff is so perfect about it, that again is the reason why I want to go die there. But there's the urgency as well, like you were saying, to buy everything that you're there because you're never going to get it again. So when I went last time, because you get the little Bandai Ultraman toys in 7-Eleven and the chemist and everywhere. And I'd buy loads of them. And then I bought loads of Godzilla ones. And then when I came home, they were selling the exact same ones, the Godzilla ones, the exact same ones pretty much well, they were the same ones, but packaged different in Forbidden Planet and Smiths, the same Bandais, but like repackaged. So I sold them all, which would have been like a load of space free in my suitcase that I would have had. But I go hard. I remember the last time I went, we bought these big like cloth bags. They're like a bag that's made of cloth. It's almost like a canvas material, and I put all my clothes in that in a soft bag and just use the suitcases. I don't know how I brought all this stuff back. I don't know if you ever saw my video there. I bought a Great Garloo. Do you know what Mark's Great Garloo? It's about this big. It's gigantic, big mechanical thing, and I bought one of them from Mandarake. And at this point, my suitcase was so full, I was like, I've no idea how I'm going to get it home. I don't know if I'm going to have to post it or anything like that. But I somehow managed to get it back there, because there's just anyway, that's not a Japanese toy. I'd just never seen one, and I had some money, and there's that urgency to want to buy everything just in case. You're like, oh, maybe I like it, maybe I don't know, but I need to buy it because I don't want to get home and regret it because I'll never see it again.
I've done that many times. I've been like a few times. I think one time I went recently, and I'd already filled my suitcase with stuff, and we met up with some friends, and they gave me even more stuff. And it's like, God, my suitcase is already full. What am I going to do? And I ended up opening. It was some boxed 2000 era Henshin cyborgs, So I think he gave me like 5 of these cyborgs. They're quite big, 12-inch things. So I ended up opening the boxes and stuffing all my clothes in the boxes around the figures so that I could sort of put more boxes back in my suitcase. And then on the next day, we were visiting some friends, and we went to a hobby off sort of in the outskirts of Tokyo. And there was a few things there that I picked up a few little things. And then just as we were leaving, I found Transformers Gigastorm, which is the like Trypticon, the big Tyrannosaurus Rex figure, but the Beast Wars version of it. And it was at such a stupid price. I'm like, well, I can't leave that here. So my suitcase was already heaving with stuff. Yeah. And I just took that. I took it on as hand luggage. I think I ended up with a bag as well in hand luggage, carrying this dinosaur Transformer with me in hand luggage. But like in Tokyo at the airport, they don't care, because it's just they can see that you've bought stuff. Like I think the very first time I went to Tokyo with my wife and that, we I can't remember where we went, but they had the reissue Megatron, so Transformers Megatron in the box. So it was one of the like Encore series ones. So this, I think it's probably about 20 years ago now. Yeah. And I bought that, and it's like, well, how the hell am I going to get this gun back to London? Because it's packaged in the gun. I didn't want to open it up. So I ended up going, when we went to the airport, I took it as hand luggage and showed it, like when we were checking in our bags, I showed it to the person, and like, yeah, all right, they sort of sent us off to this little, I think it was where you're supposed to be able to sort of take dangerous goods back on the plane, and showed it to them. And the guys there going, Transformer, yeah, like, and they wrapped it up in special tape, warning tape and that, and it went in a special part of the hold, because it looked like a deadly weapon and sort of thing. But they were just like, it's a Transformer, yeah, brilliant, and packed it all up, and it did make its way all the way back to London and that. But it's what makes it a great place to go, is the fact that they do understand this sort of stuff. There's so many toys, but they do understand it as well. They have an appreciation for what they are and why people like them, and I just love it. I would, I certainly, if we could go tomorrow, I would go tomorrow.
It's that otaku culture that's so normal there, isn't it? That like it's not even it's just normal. I've said this a few times on videos, but I remember like one of the first days I was there, I went past an arcade, and there was like a businessman on a dance mat in his suit with his suitcase, and he was just dancing away. And if that was in England, there'd be people pulling out the phones and putting him on Snapchat and TikTok and taking the piss and rinsing him, and he'd become a meme. But in Japan, it's just so normal, like, and people, it's not even if that was like bizarre to someone, like they're just polite enough to not be like, well, I don't have the right to just film someone against his will because I think what he's doing looks a bit funny. They just get on with the day, and it's all that culture that I love as well. And it's funny you were saying about like bringing stuff back in your suitcase, because I like get so anxious that something's going to go wrong, and I think a worst case scenario, and I'm like, I don't care if all my clothes went missing, if I lost my phone, my laptop, all that, it's all replaceable, but I'm never getting another Great Garloo. I have to make like just the relief of getting back to England and getting past your suitcase knowing it's all in there and you can feel it and it's not broke. Like there's no feeling quite like it. It's better than getting the toy because you feel like as a toy collector, you'll have those dreams where you have a dream that you like come across the best toy haul ever and then you wake up and it's not real. Um, some people might have it that they sleep with the most beautiful woman in a movie that they love, and then they wake up and it weren't real and they're disappointed. Mine has been at a car boot and finding loads of toys, and then I wake up and it's not real. And that's what it feels like when I'm in Japan. None of the toys feel like they're mine or that I actually own them until I'm back home and I open my suitcase. I'm like, okay, now I own it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It's just the thrill of it all, and I think like yourself, I have many dreams of finding things or seeing something that I've been wanting for a long time. But in Japan, that's like a daily thing. That's your living dream. You're there walking around, and you'll just walk around the corner. There'll be a little shop, and you'll be like, oh God, where did that? How did I not know this was there? And all of these things are in it. It's an amazing place. I think it's very hard to describe to people if you haven't been how amazing it is as a place, and how once you've gone, you will want to go back every year. There's no stopping it. Then you've started that need that I've been once, I've got to go again, and then I've got to go again, and then I've got to go again. That's why we've been, I'll say, like 15 or more times, and I'm sure we will go 15 or more times after. It will be a continuous thing for us.
Well, I always feel like you don't really need to go anywhere else once you've been to Japan. So I went on holiday. My family wasn't a family that went abroad. I went to like Spain when I was a kid with my friend in school, and then I'd never actually been on a plane until I was 19, and I went all the way to Tokyo, and I just felt like I'd blown my load so quick, like too early, that everything I could ever want, it would never get any better than that. It was like nowhere else I go will be better than this. And I've been to Japan, been to America and places, and they're awesome and they're cool, but there's nowhere like Japan. And I would go to Japan every time rather than anywhere else in the world, because it's got everything. If I want dope food, it's there. If I want dope fashion, it's there, because I love my trainers and my clothes and stuff. If I want dope toys, it's there. Everything I could ever want is all in that city. So you're right. It completely makes sense that you've been 15 times, because I would have been 15 times. If they said you can never go to any other country in the world, but you can go to Japan every year for the rest of your life for free, I would. I don't need to go anywhere else.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. There's no choice for me. If it's like, where do you want to go on holiday? Well, Tokyo. That's it. That's always the first option is Tokyo. There's no everything else is like, well, why would I bother? If I've got to go on a holiday and I've got to do a long flight, that's it. Tokyo, go there. It's I think it's now just sort of part of my life, part of our life. My wife likes it as well. She loves just everything about Japan, the sort of the culture and the clothes and the homewares, everything about it. I think suits us both. If we could go and live there, I think we possibly would, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's actually possible, but if we could, I'm sure we would certainly give it a good try.
Well, one of the things that it sounds almost like it's the wrong way to be, but they're a country that they don't just let anyone go live there. So the downside of that is like people who want to go live in Japan can't. It's not like a country where you can go and you can get whatever it's called, like immigration there, and you can go and live there. They only want you there if you're like detrimental to their economy. So the bad thing about that is like, anybody can't go and live there. That's a shame. But then the good thing about it is that it means that the culture's never been changed. It's so Japanese, and that's why there's nowhere else like it.
Yeah, definitely. It does make it a very unique place. Certainly, I don't think I have any sort of qualifications or skills that would allow me to go and live there. I don't think I would offer anything that the Japanese can't do far better. Even fixing toys, I'm sure they would fix toys far better than I would. I don't have many skills, I think, that would be transferable, but you never know. They might someday see that fixing old Western toys is a viable thing that their culture needs, and I very much doubt it.
What's funny as well is like when you speak to Jeremy, like because he's lived there for like almost 20 years or something now, hasn't he? And he says it's still awesome. It doesn't like wear off. It's not like, oh yeah, do you know what? Once you've been here 5 years, it kind of just becomes normal life, and it's not as cool as you think. He's like, no, it's so awesome. I still go toy hunting every weekend. It's the best.
No, I think he's a very lucky chap. Certainly, he's sort of got he's got a lifestyle that I sort of envy in the fact that he's there all the time. But then, having said that, I like going toy hunting here. There are places to toy hunt here, and there are things to do here. It's just not quite as good. It's still good, but it's just not quite as good.
It's not even a fraction as good, I don't think. And because England, like, is so small compared to Japan, compared to America, we've been like rinsed 1,000 times over. So finding stuff out in the wild now in England is really hard. It does still come up, but you really do have to be satisfied with, like, you might go to a car boot every week. There's going to be a couple of times where you actually get something dope. Back in the day, I couldn't get it in the car. There was so much stuff, like 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But obviously, that's 20 years ago. And that stuff then, like, I saw like 80s toys as like super retro when I was like 16 and things like that. But then I'm thinking, well, no, they was only like 16 years old then. Of course, I could find them all the time. Like now, I mean, I was born in 88 and I'm 34 now. So I'm like, this stuff's like nearly like 35 years old. Of course, it's like harder to come by and things like that. It's funny as well, just while I was thinking about it, when we was talking about dreams, when you're a toy collector, you have that dream where like you find something dope at a car boot and then you wake up and it's not real. I don't know if you have this. I have an opposite dream where like I'll be walking in a field or something, and then I start seeing all my toys that I've collected just like thrown out, and I can't pick them all up, and they're just there, and I can't. I don't know if you've ever had this kind of dream. They're like the stuff you've collected is just like thrown around, and you're like, oh, I need to get it all back, and that must come from like a subconscious feeling of like how much this stuff means to you, and the worry of losing it. I don't know why it just came into my head then when I was thinking about it, but it's like a recurring dream. I can't be the only toy collector that's had that kind of thing.
I can't say I've had that. I do dream about toys a lot, which is probably weird, but I do dream a lot about them. And I dream about fixing toys, which is the weird thing. I will come up with solutions to things that I've got, projects that I've got on the go while I'm asleep. And you sort of wake up and be like, oh yeah, that's great. And I'll have to write it down to make sure that it is true. But I think they're all invasive in my life now. It seeps in, and you do tend to. Yeah, I suppose your dreams are your subconscious, aren't they? This is what we all want: the toys, more toys, better toys.
And you live and breathe toys. You're very much like me, because I suppose like you're doing enough with YouTube now that it is obviously part of your job. I'm not saying it's your full time job, but it's definitely part of your job now doing the toy thing. So it is more than a hobby now. It is something that's also part of your everyday life, but it's not made you lose any love for it.
I think you have sort of ups and downs with any sort of collection, and any, you parts of your collection will come in and out of favor. Certainly there are toy lines that I like more now than I used to, and other ones that I've lost interest in a little bit. It doesn't mean I don't like them, but my sort of interests move around. But yes, certainly it's like Toy Polloi. Yeah, it's not quite a job yet, but I do, it is getting that way. I'm starting to do a lot more because of it, and I get invited to do a lot more things because of it. So it's more, it's more like a job in some ways. But that doesn't stop me enjoying doing it. I really enjoy playing with toys, and I don't think I've ever, I've been doing, as we've discussed, I've been collecting a long time, and I've not got bored of it yet. And I think it would be very unlikely that I did get bored of doing this. And yeah, Toy Polloi is it's certainly become more than I ever imagined it would. I didn't expect to be, when I started, a few years I thought I would do this for, but I've been doing it 8 and a bit years now. I'm still doing it. I'm in the middle of writing an annual. Later this year, you will actually be able to buy a book what I have written. So a little old-fashioned annual with articles and all sorts of things in it. So that's something I never thought I'd do, but it's all because of doing this, videos about old toys. And yeah, I'm not bored, and I still find new toys, new to me. They're still old toys, but I still find new stuff that I've never worked on or never sort of had before, and I get a new love for something. Like at the moment, I'm doing quite a lot of mask videos. I never had any mask as a child because I think I was just a bit too old for it. But I remember them, and I remember them quite clearly. But I never had any. But I've now started sort of buying up mask stuff because people keep saying do mask. So I've got some, and they're really great, and I'm really enjoying messing about with them and fixing them up. And I've got a video coming in a couple of weeks on the Mask Condor bike. I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. It was a really fun project to take this thing and fix it up and make new stickers for it. I just like that, that, I don't know. Sometimes things will just grab me and I get a new enthusiasm for them. So certainly not bored, and I certainly still find a lot of interest in, this plastic pile behind me.
I wanted to ask you about the annual as well, because I know that you've got that coming out. Like, what's the deal with that? When can we get hold of it? And what made you want to do one of them? Because we're from an era where you could get an annual for everything. Everything had its own annual, so it's like a really cool thing to do. To bring out your own Toy Polloi annual, like, where did that idea even come from, and how's the progress on that?
Well, I was asked to do it. I've been, for the last, I'm going to say 3 years now, I write for a magazine each month, a magazine called Fusion, which is a retro magazine about retro computer games and board games and all sorts of stuff like that. And I've been their sort of toy, retro toy writer. So I've written, 30 or 40 articles for them. Every month I write about something, and they prove popular, and obviously they can see who's reading and sort of buying their magazine. And they said, why don't we put together an annual of just about toys and about Toy Polloi? So it was their suggestion. So it's being published by Fusion, and I've written, I think it's about 128 pages of stuff covering everything, all sorts of toys, and some stuff about Toy Polloi and my history and how the channel is run, and all sorts of stuff. It's a big annual full of bits. I've just got the final artwork for the cover come in, so it's got a nice hand-drawn cover by the guy who did this T-shirt I'm wearing here, which is by a guy called Tim Latty. He drew me as a Ghostbuster, and he's just done the cover art for the annual. So it's artwork by him, and it will be out. I think it goes to Kickstarter, I'm going to say September, October time. Not quite sure on the dates, and then it will be out ready for Christmas. So end of November, beginning of December, it will be available. And I'm going to say go buy it, but you can't go buy it just yet. But at the time, it will be out, and it'll be really. I'm really quite excited about it. I've never written a book, and if you'd asked my teachers at school, if I was destined to be a writer, I think they'd have laughed at you. But that sort of stuff is really exciting to me. I never thought making videos about old toys would lead to something like that.
Wicked, man. Well, it's been awesome to talk to you, and I love how, like, you started doing your channel before it was like, because people now they'll set up a channel now because they say, oh, YouTube is how you make money. It's YouTube's I want to get on that YouTube money, or they see other people like doing this and thinking, oh, I want to do a bit of that. I want to start a channel. You were literally doing this before anyone else was, so it's like I really see you as like one of the OGs of this thing. So it's like wicked to be able to chat to you today, man. I really do appreciate it. Is there anything that you want to talk about before we wrap this up? Anything you want to like point people in the direction of like your next video or anything like that?
No, not really. I think if people want to come and check out my channel, please do. I've got, as I say, I've been doing this a long time, so there's an awful lot of videos. If you haven't seen my videos, you've got 800 or more videos to catch up on, where I review old toys, I fix old toys. Basically, if it's old and it's a toy, I've probably covered it on my channel at some point. So if you aren't a subscriber, come over and subscribe. There'll be something that you can find to enjoy. There's plenty more coming up. I've got projects piled high. You can't see it here next to me, but there are piles and piles of boxes of new projects, and on my desk here is more projects of things that are coming up. So there's always new things, and I'm always open to suggestions. If people want to watch and suggest toys that they want to see and see repaired, drop me a message. I get lots of messages about stuff I've never heard of, so send me messages, and chances are I may end up fixing things in the future. But just come and have a watch.
So there you have it, my exclusive channel chat for Toy Talk Tuesday with Dave from Toy Polloi. Now, you might have noticed, because it was pretty hard to miss, but after the first couple of minutes of the video, Dave's feed cut out, and we didn't realise until after we'd finished recording that it wasn't actually recording his video, but luckily we got all the audio, so with a bit of clever editing I'll be able to chop it into a video/audio podcast and make sure that we don't lose it, because it was too cool to throw away because we didn't get a bit of video. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see me do any more of these channel chats, then let me know. Tag him below in the comments who you'd like to see me have on a Toy Talk Tuesday channel chat. Tag him below, because I love doing this kind of thing, so it'd be awesome to do some more with different people. And if you you haven't already, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but go and check out Dave's channel over at Toy Polloi and binge his back catalogue, because this guy's got like 850 videos for you to go and check out. I know there's loads that I haven't seen if that's how many he's uploaded, so I'm going to go do the same. If you enjoyed this video, like I said, give it a like, and if you don't want to comment below because you prefer to private message, you can also get at me on Instagram at Theo_Kane_Slimehouse. You can also follow me on there because I put a lot of exclusive footage on there and pictures and stuff that doesn't go over on YouTube. Not so much footage, but definitely a lot of exclusive pictures that I don't put anywhere else, so make sure you follow me on Instagram as well. Also, you can become a Patreon over at patreon.com/SlimehouseTV, and for as little as $1 a month or more, you can become a slime renegade and help me make this channel bigger and better than ever. If you've not been to this channel before, I'm Theo Kane, this is Slimehouse TV. Don't forget to also go back and binge my back catalogue, because I haven't got quite as much as Dave, but I've certainly got a lot of cool stuff if you enjoyed today's video. In the meantime though, I'm going to get off. I'll catch you in next week's Toy Talk Tuesday or in a Friday drop, but until then, I'm gone.